know about Kwajalein and Mike Klein? And I have to tell you, Mike Klein told me to throw this question.
Well, I learned about Kwajalein through the broader USAPAC mission. Kwajalein represents obviously something bigger than geography. It represents commitment and isolation. USAPAC Commanding General, General Clark, has 3 lines of effort. There are people, partners, and prevail. So people, whether it's soldiers or contractors or civilians, are important, obviously. Sure. And so our job is to make sure that we take care of those elements wherever they are, especially in an isolated place like this. Partners, you have contractors here, obviously. You have civilians, you have family members. All of those folks are to be treated with dignity and respect. Now, that's the chaplain's lane. It should all be all leaders' lane, but that's the chaplain's lane. So I help the commanding general to make sure that those things are taken care of.
Excellent. We saw that you served in the Army for over 31 years and across multiple commands worldwide. What does a typical day look like for you now as the USAPAC command chaplain? And how does that translate to supporting more contractors than active service members in a remote community like ours?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because there's no typical day for the chaplain right there. I can have all the schedules, I can have everything laid out, but I can be advising the commanding general on ethical and moral things going out throughout the world. One day, and you go from stars to a private first class the next day, talking about marriage, talking about his role in the Army, talking about his identity, talking about why he's struggling, or just the impact the Army is having on his particular life. So in that respect, my day is never typical, but that's the beautiful thing about it because I just get to uplift people at any time, anywhere, at any space, right? And so when you're talking about civilians and contractors, it's interesting. I went to the dining facility yesterday and got a chance to talk to someone who's been here since 2005.
Those.
Right. And so having an opportunity to sit down and talk with him and kind of share his experiences. It's an old saying, some of the strongest people in the morning cry themselves to sleep at night. He was most appreciative just to sit down and talk to me for an hour, unscheduled. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. So that's the great thing about my line of work.
Excellent. Your conversion from Christianity to Islam is one of the most shared faith journeys online. What moment or relationship truly shifted your heart? And what would you want people to understand most about faith across traditions?
Yeah, I want people to understand that it wasn't about rejection. It wasn't about a deviation for something. It was really just about my personal journey searching for alignment, right? As a young man, I battled addiction, drunkenness, failure, trauma, poor self-esteem, poor self-worth. Islam brought a sense of discipline to my life, daily prayers, regimentation, fasting, charity. It was kind of the alignment that I needed. I needed structure, right, because of my horrid past. And then what I want people to understand is religion is not about arguing to see who's right or wrong. Religion is about the presence of God in your life and trying to get you to value yourself more and be a help to humanity.
Beautiful. Notice how I'm pausing in between, so don't forget to do that. You've studied, taught, and led in interfaith spaces around the world. In your experience, what makes a community thrive across different cultures and belief, especially in a close-knit community like ours?
Well, I want to start off with a statement. Respect is anchored in shared beliefs. My journey most certainly is different with the conversion. I grew up Lutheran. I grew up in a Christian home. And when you leave outside of that closed environment and you see people from different cultures and different faiths, we have to respect people's shared values, like morality. People just want their kids to grow up in a great home and go to college. These are shared beliefs, And so for me, being in those communities like CENTCOM, ARCENT, Guantanamo Bay, I was fortunate enough to bring a sense of balance to the commanders and leaders because they knew how I'd been on both sides. I studied in Jordan, Arabic in Jordan. I led in Kuwait, and all of these multi-dynamic operations. And I can tell you, dignity, honor, and respect helps in this thing that we call shared beliefs.
Excellent. You've trained over 4,500 soldiers, civilians, and family members. What are the most common spiritual or emotional challenges service members face today, and how can communities better support them?
Yeah, the most common spiritual and emotional challenges today is, loneliness is a silent despair.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a culture where vulnerability is not necessarily accepted, right? Vulnerability is considered weak. Vulnerability is considered, something that needs to be, especially in our community in the military, that needs to be held at bay. Our soldiers are strong, but it does not eliminate them from struggle, right? And so they wrestle with purpose, they wrestle with identity, they wrestle with marriages, they wrestle with a litany of things. Amongst those things is the high op tempo of the Army. So the emotional challenge today is for us to be able to tap into that without destroying the human being, right?
Good.
And so the chaplain provides, honestly, a bridge for that, because they can come into me and everything is confidential. I can listen to them in their weakest moments, then their most vulnerable moments, and guess what? It doesn't leave outside of my door. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Excellent. You've served in high-profile and high-pressure environments like CENTCOM and Guantanamo Bay. What has been your greatest leadership lesson from serving in those spaces?
Yeah, the greatest leadership lesson in those type of environments really is pressure reveals character. I mean, those places are absolute madhouses, right? Seriously. I mean, you're talking about 13-hour days, and God bless our commanders. Those ladies and gentlemen work 17 hours a day, and one mistake kind of derails the whole mission. So for me, I always want to bring it back to me as a chaplain, as a leader. My job is not to chastise those folks at all. My job is to find a way to mend and kind of help them through this process that they're going through. It's funny because I'm working with some of the smartest, most dangerous people in the world, right? And so I get to go into their offices at their most chaotic moments, and you'll love this. And I just hug them. And they're always looking at me like, what is the matter with you, chaplain, right? But, I said this to my last commander. I mean, and he is a phenomenal man. And he's looking at me because he's got everything going on. And I said, heroes need hugs too. Yeah. And he gently hugged me back, right? And so going around my units now, they say, come on, chaplain, just give me the hug and get it over with. I love that because these guys are like phenomenal people. I mean, mission-oriented, type A men and women. And I get to just go in because I'm the chaplain and give them a hug. And, most of them really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I felt like I wanted to hug you when I first met you, because you just emanate such positivity and such inspiration. And so I just want to say I get that from you, and I thank you.
You very much. I'm from Louisiana. We're huggers, right?
Mississippi.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm from LA, so we're just kind of
yeah, that's right. Dude, don't touch me, right?
You have an ulterior motive?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
All right. So you've earned multiple advanced degrees and have authored several books focused on faith, manhood, and peace. What message from your work feels most urgent for people right now?
Yeah, the message from my work, honestly, is people matter. The Chief of Staff of the Army, General George, has in his message about continuous transformation, I love that because we're constantly evolving as human beings. It doesn't matter the technology, whether it's, Chat GPT, TikTok, or Facebook, it's still people behind those controls. And so, with that theme, it doesn't matter to me who you are, where you come from, what your gender is, what your faith is. people matter. So my degrees, it'd be interesting for you to know, like I have a doctorate degree in Christianity, right?
Yeah, I read that.
It's important for me because 99.99% of my soldiers are Christian. So when they come in to me, I want them to know that we have shared values, and therefore I want them to leave out that door stronger than they came in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So your name, Khalid Shabazz,
Yes.
means immortal, an eagle that flies above all eagles. How does that meaning reflect the way you strive to live and lead today?
Well, I changed my name from Michael Barnes to Khalid Shabazz in 1997. And the reason I did that was I wanted to give my life meaning and purpose, right? So I chose the name Khalid. It means in Arabic, one whose ideas live forever, immortal. I wanted to give my children a sense of inspiration. You know, sometimes we're trying to inspire the world, but we don't inspire our own homes, you know. And so I wanted to give my children ideas, a new paradigm, a new way of life that they can take from their father, right? Shabazz means an eagle that flies above all eagles. I wanted to be, it's going to sound psychotic, but I wanted to be so good, right, and so inspirational, and be the most educated person in the world. So when I walk into a room, people would want to take from me so I can inspire them. I have a bracelet that I wear, inspire until I expire here.
I think I saw that in one of your videos.
Yes. Yeah. I want to be that inspiration for people, not only for my wife and my children, but for the whole world, to say, you know, this young man came from nothing. And look at where he's arrived, you know, a man with, you know, multiple graduate degrees and, you know, all of these followers on the internet. So that's why I did the education. And I'll say this in closing, I had such a terrible life the first 25 years. I said for the next 25 years, I was going to transform my life to make up for the time where I wasn't a good person. Yes.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Won't he do it?
All the time.
That's powerful. So for young people on this island who may be searching for purpose, faith, or direction, what advice would you offer from your journey?
Yeah, I have a saying when I go out and do speeches, you are not a product of your environment, you're a product of your thinking. You know, I was molested at 10 years old, which set off a chain of events. For me, special education in the 8th grade, failed the 9th grade, failed the 10th grade, failed the 12th grade, went to college, struggling with my identity. And be honest with you, I didn't know whether I was a man or a woman. And so everybody who would look at me with a jaundiced eye, I am a big guy, I just beat them to a pulp, and I'm not happy about that. So I went to jail twice. And I was shot in the back at 21, almost lost my life. So when I go out to these universities or to the Army posts, I always tell that story because I tell them you're not a product of your environment, you're a product of your thinking. At 32 years old, I decided to stop making excuses. I decided I was going to take control of my life, and I disciplined myself to ensure that I would become the person that people could look up to. Yeah.
You've worked with people from many cultures, beliefs, and experiences. What have you learned about building respect across differences?
Yeah, what I've learned about building respect across differences is interesting. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, says, you know, we're about unity, right? Unity should be our defined purpose, not diversity. You know, I actually really love that statement because we're all different, right? Mm-hmm. Whether we're Christian, Jewish, man, or woman, those differences are important. But the most important thing is unity, right? Shared values that we talked about before. Going to one particular thing. In the Army, it's readiness, right? It is, for us, making sure that our homeland is protected. I love that because unity is most important. When I'm a professor at a couple of schools, And so I always come out and I ask two questions. Is knowledge power? And everybody says, yes, knowledge is power. And I said, it's absolutely not power. The application of knowledge is power. The second question I always ask, people always say great minds think alike. And everybody says, yes, that's true. I said, that's absolutely not true. Great minds differ, but they come to the same conclusion for the best of the group. So when the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, says that it's about unity, I absolutely agree with that. You know, so for me, when you're talking about what have I learned about building respect across communities, I can allow you to be you and still have a foundation where we need to get to a particular goal, because it's not about you, it's about us. Yes.
What do you do to recharge when you're off duty? Do you have any hobbies or fun routines?
Yeah, I'm a kind of different person. I'm in the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I saw one of your videos. Yeah.
I'm a gym buff too.
Yeah.
Didn't you give yourself a birthday present or something like at 4 a.m?
That's right. Yeah. At 4 a.m, I bench
tell us
press. I
about
bench press 435 pounds. Nobody in the gym. So, and you know, at 57 years old, if I die, I die.
Oh my God.
You look great for 57.
Thank you so much. You know, I appreciate it. I got 4 grandkids, 3 children, 4 grandchildren. My oldest grandbaby is about to be a senior in high school. You believe that? That's
Nice.
crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah, I did give myself a birthday present. I wanted to, you know, people talk about impossibilities. I wanted to do things that people think are impossible. It's an old saying, most people die at 25, but they're not buried until they're 75. And what that means is we've put these false narratives on ourselves. Like, well, I'm too old now, I'll just pass it down to my kids. No, I want to show my kids what's possible. If you don't give your children, teach your children how to fly, they'll never fly. And so for me, yes, I want to recharge by being in the gym, reading books. I just finished my 7th book, working on my 8th book. And what really recharges me is when I pass through the DFAC or the PX and these young kids want to take a picture with me. I mean, I think that is so, I think that's so cool, right?
It
It's so
is.
cool. Like, and I get a lot of flack from, you know, other senior leaders, like, you're a colonel, you're on the internet, you know, you're ostentatious and all that stuff. No, I'm doing it for these children, right? Because they need to see a living example of a role model, especially being a chaplain. Being a huge chaplain too. Nobody's really going to walk up to me. So I have a preventive measure strategy. If I'm on the internet, they see how down to earth that I am. He's a fun guy. I can just walk up to him and hug him, right? And so that allows me to help them. But if they don't have access to me, you know, I'm walking around with all these degrees on my back and being so important, who cares?
Right.
Let me use that to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And I think being touchable also makes you more human and more relatable to
Yes.
people
Absolutely.
at their level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, a last question here. One day, if you retire or leave your post, how would you like to be remembered?
Not as the highest ranking Muslim chaplain, not as by my degrees, not by all of that stuff. Those things are temporal. You know, one of the things I said, I was speaking at the Pentagon, and one of the things I said, I'm going to get kind of teary-eyed here, but I want to provide a life for my children and my grandchildren that they don't have to recover from, right? That's the essence of who I am, right? And the second is, you know, I really want people, when they leave from me, to say that guy made me stronger. They don't have to remember my name. They don't have to remember anything. But I felt different when I left him. That's what I want to be remembered by.
Amen. That's great.
Amen. Thank you, guys.
you.
I have one last question. This is
Sure.
not even on there, but it's just got me wondering, simply, what's next for you? When this is all said and done, how are you going to go away and just relax and just live life? You know, is that planned for you, or?
Well, you know, relax is it's a crazy word for a person that has as much trauma as me, right? So my trauma drives me every day, like, to do something, like that gym stuff in the morning. If I don't do something every day, like I get depressed.
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not about me. It's about finding ways to touch human beings. When I was an hour away from suicide, this wonderful human being decided to come and talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 27 years old. I got a wife and 2 kids. And I said to myself, they would be better without me because I was such a failure.
Right.
And this young man came up, he was a sergeant major, and he said 4 words that absolutely changed my life. I believe in you. So how selfish would it be of me to go and sit on my little couch and, talk about how great I am and what I accomplished? Who cares? I need to be finding some way every day to touch somebody. Now, my dream is to be a college president, right? That's my dream, right? And so I've got everything in place to do that, right? I've been in the Army 35 years, and I planned on doing it 10 years ago, but the Army kept promoting me, right? So, and after they kept promoting me, I kept making history in all of these newspaper articles. And so I stayed because I want to be the place I could be most effective. So I'm off. In about 3 months, I'll be an associate professor at National Defense University. I'll still be in the Army, but it seems like that's the way that I'm being pushed to do and achieve my dreams that way.
Very nice. I also noticed, speaking of college, which I don't know if you pledged in college, but I also saw that you're an Omega Psi.
Yes, I am. I pledged in college at 19 years old. It's fascinating. That was over 35, 36 years ago. It has added to my life greatly, and this is the reason why. Doing 9/11 and all this stuff that was happening in the Middle East, I was the Muslim chaplain, and I got to be honest with you, nobody would talk to me but my fraternity brothers, right? And so they provided a sense of solace for me when I was down to keep going, and so that aspect of being in the fraternity actually really helped me because even during that time, they used to bring me out and do guest speakers because I do motivational speaking internationally, but they brought me out and I used to speak for them as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I have to add, my birthday is November 17th.
Amen. Amen. That's right. That's right. Amen. Amen.
And I'm a proud member. Actually, 25 years. I'll be silver this year for Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
You got to be kidding. My wife will be silver as well.
This year?
This year.
Oh, my God.
That's right. Absolutely. She will be silver this year. She planned on going to California for the Boule. However, we're PCSing. I'm still encouraging her to go, but she's so selfless and all that stuff. I'm like, hey, go. I'll PCS by myself, but she doesn't want to. My daughter is also an AKA.
Oh, wow.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I'm going to Boule this year because of
call my wife and encourage her to go as well. I want her to go so bad. She should go. She's turning silver.
And actually in Vegas. It's in Vegas. It's in Las Vegas.
Vegas, I mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, in Vegas.
In closing, Chaplain Shabazz, what would you like to say to our listeners?
Man, I tell you, I have so much to say, but if I can end with this, because I think it's prominent to all of us. Your leadership is a sermon. Be careful how you preach it, right?
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us have this thing that we say we are, right? Be that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be that, and it doesn't have to take away from anybody else, but whoever you say you are, be that. And it may cost you some stuff. Like, I believe, like, how I am has cost me some stuff, right? Because a chaplain, colonel, on the internet, trying to motivate people all day, I mean, it rubs some people the wrong way because it looks ostentatious.
You always have a critic somewhere.
Right, it looks narcissistic. But you have to know who you are and be authentic to who you say you are. So your life is a sermon. Be careful how you live it. And leadership is not about income. It's about outcome. That's what I'd like to leave your people with.
Beautiful.
It's very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ski week. Yes.
Ski room.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.